It's the Locked On NFL podcast. It's subscribe for great daily content right here on the Locked On NFL YouTube channel. It's Bo Brack hanging out with you on a Monday, and the Rams overcame 3 Matthew Stafford picks to beat the Minnesota Vikings 30-23, but take control of the top spot in the NFC West standings. Sosa Kremejas, Locked On Rams at QB MVP on Twitter. So tell me, how were the Rams able to overcome that rough performance from their quarterback in Stafford?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, probably not one of his best games. You could say it was arguably his worst one in a Rams uniform since joining the team. 3 interceptions, and that wasn't even the whole story. I mean, there was a lot of errant passes. Could have been, another 2 or 3 interceptions on top of that. Had Odell Beckham working deep for what probably would have been a 65-yard-ish touchdown. Underthrows him by 20 yards. Can't even get the ball close. So very bad performance. But in general, I think, outside of one interception, which was in the Rams area of the field, not just that, but within that 15-yard line there, they didn't do that bad in terms of, okay, you're going to launch one deep. It's like an arm punt, not the worst thing. The Vikings are sort of backed up in terms of the field position if they get an interception. Other than that, though, I mean, you look at the rushing game, Sony Michel, they really rode this guy 130-ish yards. I believe he had a touchdown as well. Ran really hard. Offensive line did a really good job, even after not having left tackle Andrew Whitworth, losing center Brian Allen in this game as well. Made a lot of big holes there. Cooper Kupp, of course, stepping up as always, especially in those key situations there where they really, really need him. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they had a really, really good game in this one. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, some of those guys did enough. The Vikings still had a decent game, I would say, in terms of their output, but they did definitely enough, especially with some of those short fields and bad positions they were put into. They came away with enough to get this victory for the Rams.
Sony Michel emerging the last couple of weeks. Obviously, Daryl Henderson, he was back out there on the field for them. But it seems like Michel's kind of taken over that RB1, something you told me a couple of weeks ago. But has it been them just emphasizing the run more, or has it been Sony Michel kind of helping them do that and then kind of get into this game plan that's helped them be so successful?
Yeah, I think it's been a decent mix of both, right?
Okay.
You see this reluctance prior, to these last few weeks to really just get under center and run the football. And it feels like, they kind of self-scouted, realized things weren't really working out. Let's get back under center. Let's run this football more often. And let's keep ourselves ahead of these chains, in manageable down and distances. That's where we're going to be best at. And I think Sony Michel has also brought, just a different element to this backfield. Daryl Henderson, probably a bit better of a slasher, more fast. He's probably got more breakaway potential, but he doesn't churn out yards like a Sony Michel does. He can't grind through those, arm tackles and create another 2, 3, 4 yards after contact. And that's something that Michel does a lot. He very, very rarely ever has negative runs. And so, that's something that's really helped the Rams really just stay on schedule and continue to run the football in these kind of situations where maybe before they didn't want to. So it's been a good mix. It's kind of worked into their play action passing game. Their passing attack has sort of delved off of that. And in general, it's just been a really good thing for the Rams.
Rams back on top of the NFC West standings. Who knows what kind of Ravens team they'll face next week? They've got the Niners in the regular season finale. Think that they stay atop to finish out the regular season?
I do. I think this is a team that's caught heat really at the right time. They go winless in November. They win every game in December. They don't lose. So I think they're catching heat at the right time, starting to get healthy. I think they're starting to be a little bit more cohesive on both sides of the ball. And we talked about it, on our crossover a few weeks ago. I didn't want to buy in on the Cardinals just yet. A young team. I feel like they're still trying to work through some kinks. And, it's kind of come to fruition here. So 2 tough teams right now. Both close neck and neck, tough schedules to finish out. Like you mentioned, nothing here is going to be easy for the Rams, but I'm going to go with a team that I think has a little bit more, past experience with these kind of situations. And I think that's the Rams.
Wow. I mean, I see your Twitter feed. Call them what you call them on your Twitter feed. Call the Cardinals what you call them on your Twitter feed.
Yeah, the Arizona Fraudulents.
Hey, last thing before we get you out of here. Cooper Kupp, another 10 catches, 100 yards. Enter the chat for the MVP. Make your case for Cooper Kupp, NFL MVP.
Oh, man, this guy's special. He's the first player in NFL history to have 14 plus games with 90 plus receiving yards. So he's already set that mark. He's tied up Torrey Holt with in the franchise in terms of 100 plus receiving yards in a game. He's done that 10 times, I believe, this season. The Arizona Cardinals, the only team to hold him under the 90 mark threshold there. So, I mean, the guy is the engine of the offense. He makes plays every time they need him. Third and whatever, they call it third and cup. That's really what his nickname is there. The guy makes the biggest plays in the biggest moments. And he's so consistent. Every single week he's doing it. He's on pace to actually break Calvin Johnson's single season record. And I think if you could do that, sure, there's an extra game. It's maybe, not as special as Calvin once did it. But if you're breaking an NFL record, if you're closing in on 2,000 yards receiving, I think you got a good case to be made there.
There you go. I can't argue with it. I think if a wide receiver is going to do it, it's got to have it be a season like Cooper Kupp's having in 2021. Great stuff from Sosa Kremejas. Make sure you're following along on Twitter at QB's MVP. Listening to this week's episodes of Locked On Rams. Thanks, Sosa.